The Caroline period in English literature refers to the era during the reign of King Charles I of England, which lasted from 1625 to 1649. Here's an overview of this literary period. 1. Political and historical context. The Caroline period was characterized by political instability, religious conflict, and tensions between the monarchy and parliament. King Charles I's reign saw disputes over taxation, religious practices, and the scope of royal authority, ultimately leading to the English Civil War. 2. Literary characteristics. The literature of the Caroline period reflected the cultural and political climate of the time, with writers addressing contemporary issues and concerns. There was a continuation of the literary traditions established in the Elizabethan and Jacobean periods, but with evolving themes and styles. The period saw the emergence of new literary genres and forms, including the Cavalier poetry, metaphysical poetry, and prose fiction. 3. Cavalier poetry. Cavalier poets, also known as Sons of Ben, referring to Ben Jonson, celebrated the courtly values of chivalry, honor, and loyalty to the king. Their poetry often featured themes of love, beauty, carpe diem, seize the day, and political loyalty. Key poets of this period include Robert Herrick, Thomas Carew, and Richard Lovelace. 4. Metaphysical poetry. Metaphysical poets, influenced by John Donne, explored complex metaphysical themes and employed elaborate conceits, extended metaphors. Their poetry often combined intellectual wit with emotional intensity, grappling with questions of love, faith, mortality, and the nature of reality. Notable metaphysical poets of this period include George Herbert, Andrew Marvell, and Henry Vaughan. 5. Prose fiction. The Caroline period saw the development of prose fiction as a literary form, with the publication of works such as John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress, Part 1 published in 1678. Prose fiction began to gain popularity as a form of entertainment and moral instruction, paving the way for the rise of the novel in later centuries. 6. Drama. While drama continued to be produced during the Caroline period, it was overshadowed by the political and social upheavals of the time. Playwrights such as John Ford and James Shirley continued to write tragedies and comedies, but their works received less attention compared to those of earlier periods. Overall, the Caroline period in English literature was a time of cultural ferment and artistic innovation, marked by the emergence of new literary forms and the exploration of diverse themes and styles. Despite the political turmoil of the era, writers continued to produce works of enduring significance that reflected the complexities of their time. Here are 20 one-liner question answers about the Caroline period in English literature. 1. When did the Caroline period in English literature occur? It lasted from 1625 to 1649 during the reign of King Charles I. 2. Who was the monarch during the Caroline period? King Charles I of England. 3. What characterized the political climate of the Caroline period? Political instability, religious conflict, and tensions between the monarchy and parliament. 4. What literary traditions continued during the Caroline period? The traditions established in the Elizabethan and Jacobean periods. 5. What were the emerging literary genres during this period? Cavalier poetry, metaphysical poetry, and prose fiction. 6. What themes did Cavalier poets often explore? Courtly values, love, beauty, carpe diem, and political loyalty. 7. Who were some notable Cavalier poets of the Caroline period? Robert Herrick, Thomas Carew, and Richard Lovelace. 8. What characterized metaphysical poetry during this time? Exploration of complex metaphysical themes and the use of elaborate conceits. 9. Which poets were associated with metaphysical poetry during the Caroline period? George Herbert, Andrew Marvell, and Henry Vaughan. 10. What literary work by John Bunyan was published during this period? The Pilgrim's Progress, Part 1, published in 1678. 11. What role did prose fiction play in the Caroline period? It began to gain popularity as a form of entertainment and moral instruction. 12. What was the influence of John Donne on metaphysical poetry? He was a key figure who influenced the style and themes of metaphysical poets. 13. How did the political turmoil of the time impact literary production? It overshadowed drama, leading to less attention on theatrical works. 14. What were some common themes in metaphysical poetry? Love, faith, mortality, and the nature of reality. 15. What were some key concerns of Cavalier poets? Celebrating chivalry, honor, and loyalty to the king. 16. What is a notable characteristic of metaphysical poetry? The combination of intellectual wit with emotional intensity. 17. Who was King Charles I's successor? His son, Charles II, who restored the monarchy after the English Civil War.
18. What event marked the end of the Caroline period? The execution of King Charles I in 1649. 19. What literary form began to gain popularity during this period? Prose fiction, paving the way for the novel in later centuries. 20. What was the enduring significance of the Caroline period in English literature? It was a time of cultural ferment and artistic innovation despite the political turmoil, laying the groundwork for future literary developments. These one-liner question answers provide a concise overview of key aspects of the Caroline period in English literature.